Hello everyone, it's great seeing you again. Thanks for joining us for yet another edition, Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, hazardous weather graphic. Start here in the southeast coast, winter weather advisory, snow advisory here for the greater Juneau area, Admiralty Island, and those locations. Also an area here out along the coastline, I think includes Elfin Cove. That's out for tonight, and could see 3 to 6 more inches of snow in these areas this evening into tonight. And back to the west here, we've got a winter storm watch out for the lower Yukon Valley and the Yukon Delta. And that goes into effect Sunday evening and lasts through Monday night, I believe. And that's for incoming pretty good storm. It's going to be rolling up into the southeast Bering, coming northward. And by Monday afternoon, should be just south of Nunivak Island. So a lot of moisture and winds. Looking for 3 to 5 inches of snow could fall, with the wind making near whiteout conditions in some areas, or at least visibility is down to a quarter mile. Otherwise, St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait Coast, Seward Peninsula here. This is all, actually the entire yellow shaded areas here, including the eastern North Slope. That's for a wind chill advisory that continues out for tonight, through tonight, and some locations extends into tomorrow morning, for at least, I think they all end by noon or earlier tomorrow, but definitely tonight. And that's for wind chills 55 degrees below zero, and winds 15 miles an hour is usually the lower limit of the wind. If you have a breeze at 15 and up, then you can have the advisories or the warnings. There is a wind chill warning out until 9 p.m. this evening for the western Arctic coast for wind chills 65 degrees below zero. And then again, that's due to end at 9 p.m. this evening. For the satellite imagery, still a lot of cold, but you can see it lightening up here, kind of the confluence of the increasing sun angle now during the day. So there's some warming going on in the afternoon, except for the North Slope staying that cold white all day long today. And also warmer air coming in with these clouds aloft especially, but then that back radiates back down to the surface as it does come in. And kind of a weakening front here. We had one come in late last night or overnight last night, kind of dissipated. Just some remnant clouds here getting into Cook Inlet. That's about it. And then another one comes up, actually a couple more bands here weakening as they come in, and pretty light precipitation with this, although Bethel picked up a couple inches of snow, but that was about the heaviest amount I saw looking at the chart. Still gusty winds, St. Lawrence Island and other locations. Savunga and Gamble getting gusts anywhere from 45 miles an hour, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts along the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta coastline, and even inland a little bit. St. Mary's seeing gusts 35 miles an hour today, and up along the Seward Peninsula. Let's see, we're actually into the interior, some pretty breezy conditions. Indian Mountain, a little bit of elevation there. They had gusts about 40 miles an hour today. Kotzebue, gusts 35 miles an hour. And also some outflow winds going on here over the North Gulf Coast. Still in the channeled areas, not anything too serious. 40 mile an hour wind gusts at Potato Point there, normally windy area there. And then Seward, also seeing gusts up to about 35 miles an hour as temperatures and some sunshine and temperatures warmed into the mid-20s this afternoon. So not too terribly cold there. And then over the Panhandle, see some clearing showing up here. Just some scattered showers today. We'll back that up one more time. There we go. And light amounts down there's a few hundredths of an inch, except for there was one location had a little bit heavier amounts there, upslope area of the terrain. But generally speaking, about a third of an inch of precipitation fell at Klawock, quarter of an inch at Sitka in the form of rain, and then up either go east, higher in elevation, form of snow, and again, several inches for the northern panhandle. Just light amounts here, barely measurable along the North Gulf Coast or eastern North Gulf Coast, and that cuts off. And any snow shower activity is mostly out over the water, which isn't much at all. You can see the clearing skies here with that northerly wind coming down Resurrection Bay, clearing it out. Here's the front pushing into the southwest interior. Weak warm front, pretty weak system here. Just 1/100 of an inch so far at Kodiak Island there. But kicking the winds up a little bit, as I mentioned, 30, 40 miles an hour in gusts along the coastline here. Very light amounts of snow, and then back up towards St. Lawrence Island, more windy than snowy, and some rain and snow showers, milder conditions behind the system. Showers scattered along the Aleutians, turning towards snow out toward the western Aleutians. And moving on to forecast for tonight, we'll see that front pushes in and weakens. Still a band of snow here across the southwest interior, trying to push in to the, into northeast Bristol Bay, Iliamna Lake, up across Kuskokwim Valley. See periods of light snow tonight, and then back to the north. Could see some blowing snow around St. Lawrence Island, maybe the Bering Strait coast. And cold high pressure holds over dominates the eastern interior, stays clear there from the Alaska Range north and then across the north slope, well below zero once again. And a lot of numerous showers here over the southeast coast, either in the form of rain mixed with snow, or snow, especially to the north there where the winter weather advisory is out. Here's the next system developing here. And warm front spreading rain, warmer temperatures, gale force winds coming with this. And then we'll see the original low pulling kind of back to the northwest here over the northern Bering Sea. And that's what could bring some blowing snow to St. Lawrence Island. And then other older system, weaker here over the western Bering Sea, kind of a cold core low there. So a lot of snow showers with snowfall levels down near sea level there for the western Aleutian areas to about Adak. And then this system moves northward during the day tomorrow and tomorrow evening, begins to weaken already. And but that'll still bring some moisture into Bristol Bay, and rain and snow changes to showers of rain or snow, but still breezy there for the Alaska Peninsula through the day. A little bit of a breakthrough here across southern Alaska into, the Copper River Basin areas as this former system lifts northward. Just scattered light snow showers or flurries with this, and mostly cloudy skies, a little more widespread, but still light for the Seward Peninsula from Norton Sound on up into Kotzebue, maybe Selawik, on up toward Kivalina, but dry north of Kivalina, dry and clear, and still chilly up here in the northeast interior on out to the Arctic coast. And low complex out here, again, pretty unsettled, rain or snow, gusty winds, especially out over the western Aleutians with a tighter gradient there. And not too bad wind-wise over the central and eastern Aleutians with rain and snow showers, and another trough keeps it unsettled over the southeast coast. This system moves northward and northeastward tomorrow night and dissipates. Another one develops, a stronger one. We'll see moves rapidly right up to this position here, just south of Nunivak Island. And again, winter storm warning out for the Yukon Delta, lower Yukon Valley at this point in time. That may expand tomorrow. But anyway, pretty good chance of tighter gradients, snow, blowing snow developing St. Lawrence Island here, Seward Peninsula, back across, and then this warm front, strong southerly winds here. You can see a very tight gradient. That looks like 60 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts through the passes of the Alaska Range and even possibly the Chugach here with warmer temperatures. Rain could be moderate to heavy, Kodiak Island up to the southern Kenai Peninsula, and a mixture, lighter amounts of the Alaska Peninsula. Cold air plunging southward here brings another shot of Arctic air down across the western central Bering into the Pribilofs and eventually into the Aleutians. Lows for tonight, northeast interior below zero again, on out to the Arctic coast, 40 to 50 below, and 35 to 45 below for the Yukon Flats to Eagle, maybe North Tok, and below zero Copper River Basin and 30s for the Panhandle, and 20s to mid-30s here over the southwest Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. Highs tomorrow, southern Alaska in the 20s, lower to mid for south central, in the mostly 30-ish area for the Panhandle. Some areas could reach 40. And below zero again north of the Alaska Range to the Arctic coast, near freezing for the Pribilofs, 8 degrees, getting above zero there for St. Lawrence Island. And then you can see a little bit of warming going on here over the west central interior. That continues to a certain extent Monday morning. Still below zero though, but not quite as far. And southern Alaska here in the 20s, teens, south central Alaska to above freezing out along the southwest coast. And then the highs in the mid-30s and mid-40s for the Panhandle, 25 to 32 southern Alaska, below zero on the Arctic coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
And for flying weather, first graphic here, IFR, central Aleutians eastward, western Alaska Peninsula just near Sitkinak there, south end of Kodiak Island. Marginal VFR up to possibly the Chinook-Marmot Bay area, marginal for the Bristol Bay area, Kuskokwim Delta. Band of IFR here through the Kuskokwim Valley, banked up along the west side of the western Alaska Range and Aleutian Range. Some IFR, North Slope Arctic Coast, otherwise northern interior. VFR on down into south central Alaska. And Prince William Sound, some IFR for the Panhandle, which in the afternoon diminishes a little bit there. You can see still pretty marginal with the IFR, a little less extensive, but locked up over toward the border. And marginal VFR back to Yakutat, VFR here, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound up the east side, good portion of the, or all of the upper Yukon Valley, Koyukuk, Kobuk, Noatak Valley, IFR, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, marginal Yukon Delta, and VFR here breaking out for the Kuskokwim Valley, central Kuskokwim Valley, and that IFR jumps the range and only becomes marginal VFR as it does, trying to push into western Cook Inlet, but doesn't quite make it, but IFR, Kodiak Island up along the southwest coast, and that band extending along the frontal boundary there to the western Aleutians. And for Monday morning, chunk of IFR here, southeast bearing into Bristol Bay along the southwest coast. Also here in across the northern Yukon Delta, southern Norton Sound, southern Seward Peninsula, looks like it'll be VFR. VFR, central northeast interior, actually from north of the Alaska Range, so 40-mile country, Tanana Valley, all the way out to the Arctic coast will be VFR. And IFR, Prince William Sound, Gulf of Alaska here from the east side of the Kenai Peninsula, right on into the western southeast coast, marginal on over to the border. And the afternoon, marginal, or IFR, over toward the eastern border, otherwise marginal, then from Elfin Cove, maybe Sitka IFR, up the coastline to Yakutat, Cordova, Cape Yakataga, and just about all of Prince William Sound. And it looks like northern Cook Inlet, Turnagain Arm, Matanuska, southern Susitna Valleys, VFR, IFR here just to the west, and some more IFR there from Togiak Bay, Dillingham, northward across the Nulato Hills, Caltag, those areas into Kobuk, Selawik Valleys, and then back down along the northern Bering Sea, Yukon Delta coast, marginal VFR for the remainder of the Aleutians and the Bering Sea, VFR. Brooks Range, North Slope Arctic coast, and the east side there. And then for the passes tomorrow, Anatuvik and Adigan, VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, especially early at times. It'll probably be VFR later in the afternoon, so it'll be an improving trend there. Rainy, marginal becoming VFR. Windy, marginal becoming VFR. Isabel, VFR. Mentasta, same forecast. Good VFR tomorrow. Also for Portage, VFR. Chilkoot and White, tonight at IFR. Improvement throughout the day, hopefully to VFR later in the afternoon. And the freezing levels, not too much to see here. 2,000 feet way down toward Vancouver Island. Surface kind of cutting across the southeast coast there. Goes colder air over toward the east and the north. And then hugging the North Gulf Coast, across Shelikof Strait, Alaska Peninsula, and north of the Pribilofs there. 2,000 feet, just barely make it at the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, 4,000, 6,000 farther to the south. Icing that frontal boundary, band of moisture. There could be some pockets of considerable moderate rime icing, Kodiak Island, maybe Togiak Bay, slipping across the Pribilofs, possibly. And otherwise just light to isolated moderate, kind of more of a mixed type out here to the west, and rime or mixed icing possible for the southeast coast. Jet stream kind of ridging, shifting through for tomorrow, so that's why we've got the improving conditions of the flying weather there, about 70 to 80 knots, and the next system out over the central Aleutians, west central Aleutians at 9,000 feet looks something like this, 25 to 40 knot winds with that. And then southerlies 10 to 20 over the interior, turning westerly 25 to 30 in across the southeast coast. And 3,000 feet, kind of a more of a low complex out here to the west. Southerlies 30 or 20 to as high as 45 knots there. And then 5 to 10, pretty light over the eastern interior. Turbulence, not too bad for the panhandle. So mechanical light to isolated moderate chop here over the eastern Alaska range, but moderate chop for the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula.
On March 11, 2011, a powerful tsunami hit Japan, destroying cities and villages. As the water receded back into the ocean, it pulled what remained of buildings, cars, boats, and homes along with it. Scrap metals, plastics, and objects of all shapes and sizes either sank near the shore or floated away. In the days that followed, large masses of floating debris could easily be seen by satellite imagery and aerial photos. In the wake of this disaster, NOAA is assessing the potential impact that the debris may have on U.S. shores. So, where will this debris go, and when will it get there? To help answer those questions, scientists are using computer models to estimate the debris' path, using its starting location in the tsunami zone and historical weather and ocean conditions. The findings are that some debris could pass near or wash ashore in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands as early as this winter. Debris may also approach the west coast of the United States in 2013 and potentially circle back to the main Hawaiian Islands in 2014. But scientists caution that there are limitations to what computer models can tell us, now that the debris has moved out of satellite view, and with currents and winds in the Pacific constantly changing, there is no guarantee that the debris will stay on the predicted path. Items will sink along the way, or break up and disperse in many directions. Despite these unknowns, NOAA and its partners are collecting data, assessing possible impacts, and making preparations in case debris does wash ashore. The 2011 tsunami in Japan reminds us that the devastation that happens on land can also become a marine debris issue at sea.
Imagine all of this underwater. In a major tsunami, it could happen. In this part of Washington state, it's happened before, hundreds of years ago. Sometime in the future, it will likely happen again. But we can be ready. If a tsunami strikes, this school will provide a place for people to ride it out above the waves.
We're in Westport, Washington, and right behind me is the very first tsunami vertical evacuation center in the United States.
This is an emergency. Please run to the nearest exit. Go to the stairs tower and proceed up the stairs.
Tsunamis are a potential hazard for low-lying coastal areas. That's why many coastal communities have plans in place to get people to safety, high ground or inland, where they can be beyond the reach of a tsunami. Often there are signs showing where to go and where to gather. Most tsunamis are caused by underwater earthquakes along subduction zones, where two of Earth's plates collide and one is forced under the other. Westport and other Pacific Northwest coastal communities are especially at risk because one of these zones lies just offshore. It's called the Cascadia Subduction Zone. An earthquake here caused a tsunami in 1700 that flooded shores as far away as Japan. Experts say it's just a matter of time before it happens again. Since the subduction zone is so close, a tsunami like the one in 1700 could strike before people in some low-lying areas could get to high ground or inland. And Westport doesn't have a lot of high ground or easy routes inland.
If we get an earthquake or a tsunami, we're going to get a lot of water in the area really quickly, and we needed a place to go. So our community built this brand new school, and above our gym and cafeteria, we have a roof, and so the idea is that we'll get all of our students up, and anybody from the community who needs to get up, they can get up there as well.
Ocosta Elementary School might seem like a normal school, but look more closely. It's engineered to withstand monster waves. Tsunami vertical evacuation shelters must be able to resist the powerful forces that a tsunami brings. Hydrodynamic, buoyant, hydrostatic, and debris impact forces and strong currents. They're also designed to help people get to safety quickly.
There are 4 big staircases on each corner of the building, and each one of those staircases is 8 feet wide, and we can get the whole school evacuated in about 4.5 minutes.
Everybody should be at a 0.
On the roof of the building, there is water and food and buckets and shelters and tarps and blankets and different things so that we can be up there for 2, 3, maybe 4 days while we wait for rescue.
You can go to the top and you know you'll be safe. It feels really nice to have a special building because you feel protected.
This community decided that a tsunami evacuation center was important because they didn't have anywhere to go, and they decided to use their money to build the building. The additional cost is anywhere between 10 and 20% of the actual building cost itself, and that's really a sound investment for a lot of protection. You may be there a while, but you're safe and you're secure, and that's the most important thing.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis. There's southerly winds here. So ice has retreated, melted back to the north a little bit. And it looks like then tomorrow, winds turn around to the north again, and we go into northerly flow, and then it will start to come southward once again. So really dependent on which way the wind blows. And for the coastal water forecasts, uniform wind pattern out along the coast west, 25 knots. Small craft advisory sees 12 feet, a little bit lighter up in the north coast. And west-southwest, 15 knots. Central southern inside waters sees at about 3 feet, otherwise Lynn Canal north 15 with 3-foot seas. And then for Monday, lighter winds, Lynn Canal variable to south with seas at 2 feet and the wind speed at 10 knots. Southeast 15, Clarence Strait, and south winds for, south 15 for Clarence Strait, southeast 15 there for Stevens Passage, as well as other inside water areas. And the south coast, west-southwest, not too bad at 15, seas around 10 feet. Southwest 15 turns southerly at 20 up there on the extreme north coast with 8 to 10 foot seas. Prince William Sound, light westerlies tomorrow, seas around 2 feet. Northwest 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Small craft advisories here for the western North Gulf Coast areas. And 7-foot seas, west 20 there for the Barren Islands, northeast 20 for Kamishak Bay. Southern Cook Inlet, north 20, seas 6 feet. Light northeast breeze for northern Cook Inlet. It picks up on Monday, and looking at northeast winds at least 15 knots north of the Forelands here for Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories, southern areas there on down becomes a gale. Out of the east, 35 knots, 14-foot seas for Kamishak Bay. Barren Islands south increasing to 30 knots or more late in the afternoon, seas 13 feet. Southeast 25 knots for small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast, and east 25. So it looks like small craft advisories also developing for Prince William Sound. And for Kodiak Island on the east side, small craft advisories southerlies at 25 knots tomorrow, seas 9 feet. Shelikof Strait east at 20 and seas 5 feet. And then we've got gale warnings here on the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, Cape Sarachev all the way up across Bristol Bay. Winds will be out of the east, sustained 30 knots with seas up to 9 feet. And then for Monday, even stronger winds, 30 to 35 knots, south-southeasterlies for Kodiak Island, southwest 40 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula on the Pacific side. Top side, though, south 55 knots with 20-foot seas, so good storm warnings here from Cape Sarachev on up toward Bristol Bay, then becomes southerly at 35 knots. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, gale warnings, south to southwest or mostly south, 35 to 40 knots. Seas running 11 to 17 feet. Central Aleutian, southwest to southeast at 30 knots with 8 to 12 foot seas. Southwest 30 out to about Kiska. Then looking at northwest gales at 35 knots, Kiska to Shemya. Those will fall back to about 30 knots or so. Not much of a change actually from Monday, but increased to gale force here from Kiska to Adak. And then Adak to Atka, westerlies 30 knots, seas 12 feet, Bering Sea side, 17 feet Pacific side, and 35 knot winds in toward Unmak Island become full gales out of the southwest for Unalaska Island. 45 knots, 19-foot seas there on the Bering Sea side of the islands with seas running 20 to 25 feet. Southwest coast, easterlies 20 to 30 knots, strongest south of Nunivak Island, east 30 for the Pribilof, seas 9 feet, east 20 St. Matthew Island. Gale warnings, St. Lawrence Island, east winds 35 knots. Northeast 35 knot winds in store for St. Lawrence Island on Monday. Otherwise, east 35, Yukon Delta coast. Storm warnings out for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Southeast winds coming up to 50 knots. Northwest 30 behind the front for the Pribilofs. Northerly gales, St. Lawrence Island. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, south at 10, increased to southeast 20 over toward Demarcation Point. East at 5, pretty light winds here. West side and the central coast, 10 knots. Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson to Wales, east 25. And the outlook for Monday, brisk wind advisories, Wales to Cape Thompson, 20 knots up to Cape Beaufort. And then really light winds out of the east or northeast, 5 to 10 knots for the entire stretch of the Arctic coast. For tonight again, moisture continues to flow in off the Pacific there for showers of rain or snow advisory, northern panhandle tonight for 3 to 5 inches more. This system weak, but areas of light snow clouds. That's helping to warm the temperatures up out here to the west. Next system coming up to the Aleutians, and then big storm on Monday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.